You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
And welcome back to Books and Boba, a book club and podcast featuring books by Asian and Asian American authors. My name is Marvin Yeh.
And I'm Reera Yu.
And we are here in the middle of July, or towards the end of July.
Towards the end.
We're here for one of our mid-month check-in episodes. We're going to go over the latest book deals, book news, and maybe even some book club member feedback. But before we get to that, a quick reminder that the book club pick for the month of July is still A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. We'll be talking about that, I guess, next week.
Yeah, I think so. It depends on scheduling, but hopefully it'll be out before the first week of August.
Yeah.
Crossing our fingers.
Yeah. I'm here drinking not a boba, but a cold brew because I need to wake up.
Yeah, Marvin's back from San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes, and I'm still tired. Still very tired.
Yeah, I remember going a couple of years ago, and I was like, I never want to do this again.
It's a lot.
It's so tiring.
I wonder, is it similar to like a book con?
I don't think so, because I feel like with Comic-Con, there's like way more people, and also it's just like so many different mediums, so you're kind of all over the place. Whereas like BookCon, you're there for books.
That's true. There is a lot of people. I did manage to avoid the floor for as long as possible. I spent a lot of my time upstairs with the panels and mostly in the press room, editing and producing podcast content. I did get a very good interview with three of our favorite authors, C.B. Lee, Sarah Kuhn, and R.F. Kwong. And we'll be releasing that. I was going to release that at the end of this episode, but it seems like it's going to be a long one. So I might release it later this week as bonus content for you all. It was a great conversation about what it's like to be an author in Comic-Con and the Asian American literature community in general.
Yeah. I was listening to it on my way here. I haven't finished it, but it sounded pretty fun. And
yeah.
I felt like I was missing out.
It was a lot of fun. It was always great to catch up with Sarah and Carrie. And Rebecca, it was great to meet her, the author of like my favorite book of the summer so far. So there were some breaking news from Comic-Con. I guess we can jump forward. Since we're talking about Comic-Con, we should just get it out of the way right now. But Sarah Kuhn just got tapped to write a Batgirl graphic novel for the new DC YA imprint.
Mm-hmm. It's the same imprint that did Marie Lu's Batman.
Okay,
I think because that was also young adult and Batman is DC, so I'm guessing it's the same imprint.
But what's especially cool about this version is it's the Cassandra Cain Batgirl, which is the Asian Batgirl.
Yes, so I've heard. And like when I saw the news on my Twitter feed, I like screamed. I was like,
yeah, it's
amazing.
Awesome.
I know Sarah's going to do a good job because like her books are literally about Asian American female superheroes. So
excited about that. And then Carrie C.B. Lee, she just got tapped to write the new Ben 10 graphic novel.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's fun.
Good things for some of our favorite authors. But yeah, just wanted to get that out. We'll be talking more about Comic-Con news later on in the news section because there were some awards given out to another one of our favorite Asian American authors. Our favorite Books and Boba. Again, like Books and Boba, we pick winners, apparently. So, you know.
we can see into the future. It's like before the book wins an award, we're like, oh, this would be cool to read, and then they end up getting awards.
Yeah,
which means we have good taste overall. I think.
Well, let's take a look into some future award winners. We're going to go over some of the most recent book deals to get you all excited about what's to come in Asian American. In the Asian American lit world.
Yes. We have a lot of news about like books that are coming out in 2020 because
2020.
This is the publishing industry, Marvin. It takes like 2-3 years to get a book out.
That's what I hear.
So our first book deal is Anthenium has acquired world rights to Simon at the Art Museum by Christina Suntornvat. And it's illustrated by Christine Devenir. And the picture book is about a young boy's outing to an art museum with his parents and the unique appreciation he develops for the museum's art, people, and cheesecake. I don't know where that last part goes.
Asian people love cheesecake. I don't know if you know this.
Okay, well,
we have a soft spot for cheesecakes and cheesecake adjacent products like cheese tarts.
I'm gonna go back to that. Publication is slated for summer 2020. Have you ever had Uncle Tetsu's cheesecake?
I have.
It's so good.
It's pretty good. But my favorite cheesecake-like dessert is now the cheese tart that you can get in Japan at like Pablo or Baked Cheese Tart. But they just opened a U.S. Kiosk in San Francisco, Baked Cheese Tart. So need to find a reason to go get up there. And if you freeze the cheese tart, it becomes like cheesecake, so it's perfect. Anyways, Knopf has acquired Anuradha D. Rajurkar's debut novel, American Batia, which won the 2017 Emerging Voices Award from the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. The book follows a teen artist grappling with forbidden love, family boundaries, and her boyfriend's exoticization of her Indian heritage. Publication is slated for spring 2020.
Oh, a boyfriend with brown fever.
Oh. It's forbidden love, family. It's like, yeah, these are the themes.
This sounds fun, though.
Yeah.
Henry Holt is launching and editing a middle-grade nonfiction series called First, which celebrates women and men who were pioneers in their fields. First, Full Steam Ahead will be written by Julie Leung and illustrated by Caitlin Kowald. The book will focus on individuals who revolutionized science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. Publication is scheduled for fall 2019. Oh, I get it. STEAM, like science, technology, engineering, the arts, mathematics. Oh, it's an acronym.
And
smart.
Is this going to focus on like people of color, or is it just in general?
It's a nonfiction series, so I'm guessing that it's going to cover like a lot of different fields and a lot of like diversity as well. I know there's like a second book that's been signed on as well. So
awesome. Penguin's new imprint, Coca-Cola, has acquired Jessica Kim's debut middle-grade novel, Stand Up, Yumi Chung. The book follows Yumi, an 11-year-old Korean-American girl who dreams of being a comedian, but is too timid to stand up to her academic-minded parents. When she is mistaken for someone else, Yumi is given a chance to attend a comedy camp taught by her idol. Publication is set for spring 2020. Again, like, 2020 is going to be a good year.
I know Jessica Kim. I follow her on Twitter. She recently listened to They Call Us Bruce, and she was listening to the Will Choi episode. So I'm guessing that she is a fan of like Asian AF and like the comedy festival. There's been a lot of like emerging Asian American comedians, and people should definitely check out Asian AF if they're in LA or New York. They're always sold out. I mean, it's like cool that she's writing a middle grade novel saying like you can be a comedian too if you're Asian. Next up, Random House's Schwartz and Wade has acquired a new picture book by Guo Jing, author of the New York Times best illustrated children's book, The Only Child. Her upcoming book, Stormy, A Story About Finding a Forever Home, is about a stray dog, a lonely woman, and the storm that brings them together. Aww. Publication is scheduled for fall 2019.
Sounds cute. Balzer and Bray has acquired Malik Pancholi's debut middle grade novel, The Best at It. Set in a small town in Indiana, the book follows a gay Indian American boy struggling with shifting dynamics of friendship and bullying in middle school, who one day decides that everything in his life will get better if he can just find out that one special thing he's the best at. Publication is slated for fall 2019.
So Malik Pancholi is also an actor. He played Jonathan on 30 Rock, and he voiced Baljeet. I think that's how you pronounce his character's name. Baljeet on Phineas and Ferb. And he also served on Obama's advisory commission on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders.
Is that WIAPI?
I think so. It shut down after.
No, apparently WIAPI is still active.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's somewhat surprising
and awkward. But yeah,
and very awkward.
I learned this recently. Like there's still an active WIAPI within the White House.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Sorry, it's my turn. Holiday House has bought world rights to two picture books by Andrea Wang. It's always hard with the last name.
It's Wong. Probably. With that spelling, it's probably Wong.
Andrea Wong, author
unless
of...
they're Cantonese. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
Don't
it's a
worry
whole
about
thing.
it.
Andrea Wong, the author of The Neon Monster, based on a memory from the author's childhood with Chinese immigrant parents. Watercress is scheduled for spring 2020 with Jason Chin on board as illustrator. Wang's second book, Lulai and the Language of Tea, will show readers how tea is a universal drink that can unite immigrant children from around the world. Ooh, that is true.
People need to be people aren't as educated on tea, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole subculture. Yeah.
Do English people have their own tea? Because I feel like all the tea that they drink are from other countries.
English people started a war with China just to get tea.
Yeah.
They traded opium for tea, apparently.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof. History. And that's it for book deals. We're going to move on to news because there's a lot that happened.
Yeah, book news. Going back to Comic-Con, Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda's Monstrous, which was our second Books and Boba book club pick?
No, our second was Everything I Never Told You. I think it was more of our fourth or fifth.
Right. One of the earlier ones.
Yes. It was within our first year.
Won 5 Eisner Awards, which is the industry awards given out at Comic-Con for Best Continuing Series, Best Publication for Teens, Best Painter and Multimedia Artist, Best Cover Artist, and Best Writer, which is the big prize.
The resistance.
Like the Best Actor prize, pretty much. Or Best Director or Best Film type of prize. Marjorie Liu was the first woman to ever win the Best Writer for the Eisner.
Which is so crazy to me.
But there's an asterisk there because they couldn't just give it to her. They had to make her share it with Tom King, who, is also a very prolific comic book writer. But at the same time, why not make history? Why not just,
I don't know how they vote on it or how they select their winners, but when I heard that Marjorie Liu was the first woman to win Best Writer for an Eisner, I was like, that can't be right. It's 2018. What do you mean that she is the first woman writer to win
There are
this
some
award?
pretty gnarly headlines for this too. I feel so. The article that we shared on Books and Boba, I didn't realize it until I went back and read the headline from Time.com. It says a woman wins top comic writer award for the first time, and that just seems like just bad headline writing.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? A woman.
I mean, it could be read in a different way, being like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
I'm sure that's how they meant it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I went back and looked that looks a little off.
Writing headlines can be tricky. I mean, I'm talking from experience. It's very hard to come up with a headline that'll catch people's eyes and not come across as.
But congrats to Mark. She was originally not coming to Comic-Con this year, and then all of a sudden she made the decision to come, and then now you know why, because she got nominated and she won the big award.
So we're going to move on to more con news, but not San Diego Comic-Con. So the 76th World Con recently received backlash for sidelining and disrespecting marginalized authors, and many of them were Hugo nominees, which is baffling because why would you disrespect the people that you're giving awards to?
I was stuck in Comic-Con World, so I have no idea what's going on here. Can you?
Okay, so Worldcon is they're formally known as the World Science Fiction Convention, and it's where they vote and select the winners of the Hugo Awards. And recently they they've been doing a really bad job. They misgendered a Hugo finalist, and they reportedly apologized, but they also expressed that they shouldn't have gone public with the criticism, which is another thing. J.Y. Yang, author of the Tenserat series, they shared an email where a Worldcon organizer argued that there was no Own Voices panel because maybe 20% of Worldcon members knew what it meant. And I'm like, this is a book convention.
Yeah.
It's very hard to not know what Own Voices is, but at the same time, even if they don't know, it's a great way for people to learn about it.
That's like saying we shouldn't make a movie with Asian actors because white people won't watch it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Worldcon, like, it's not like Comic-Con. It is very much like an industry convention. So there's a lot of business deals being made.
And
there's a lot of
science
networking.
fiction all about, like...
Oh, sad puppies.
Looking forward to, like...
Okay, so there's
Yeah.
this group called Sad Puppies. I'm not even joking. That's
Oh,
that's
no,
like
I
their
thought that
name.
was an exclamation that you made.
No, like Sad Puppies is an actual group, and they are like super conservative and conservative
They were
work, such as like they're like very like anti-LGBTQ, anti-women, very much like science fiction and fantasy has become too progressive, too liberal.
There were a lot of these people at Comic-Con too. They're being interviewed, and I heard a lot about people talking about. There's this like idea now that like there's forced diversity onto narratives, which is like because diversity has become a selling point, like it has been officially capitalized. People think that companies are putting in diversity just because they want to make more money, or just because they feel like they have to.
Yeah, I'm sure there is like there are some publishers who think that way and they really should change their mindset. But overall, like promoting marginalized writers, it's more of leveling the playing field that has been just like so like science fiction has been so dominated by straight white male authors for a very, very long time. And it's like really sad that this convention that is pretty much like the Oscars of science fiction. Yeah. So some authors reported having their panels accepted, but they were given to other panelists. And some other authors said their panels were rejected because it was like too out there, like too progressive. And that's like, I'm just like, what? Like a marginalized author pitches like a panel and you take their panel and give it to white authors?
I feel like, I mean, this is just me theorizing and like extrapolating, but they probably hired some sort of brand consultant or some sort of like marketing guy who pretty much went through the
list of attendees
and decided like this is how you make it more mainstream and more palatable, right? Or because it sounds like it's been workshopped. It sounds like it's been focus group. It sounds like it's been like marketing guide. You know?
Well, like the one good thing is about this whole like train wreck. So Worldcon's chair, Kevin Rush, he announced that they will be completely like tearing down their programming and starting from scratch. So hopefully there will be more diverse panels. There will be more of a level playing field. But a lot of authors have withdrawn from attending Worldcon because of this.
Was Worldcon like this last year? I mean,
Worldcon
it seems like a lot of people were caught off guard with how they treated stuff this year. Or that's how it sounds.
I don't know if they were caught off guard because I feel like something like this happens every year, but like it was just like a lot.
More people were
It was
upset
a
this year,
lot.
right?
And it was like what they did was just like what happened? Like what happened? Like who advised you to communicate to authors like that?
Maybe they just succumb to the pressure of the sad puppies. And it's like going back to the whole thing. I don't think it's even the companies that are trying to capitalize on diversity. It's people think they are. People think that this diversity thing is just like they think it's not necessary and they think it's ruining their comics or their stories.
Or in a milder form, it's like, oh, it's a trend. It's a trend that's going to eventually go away.
It's a trend, and I don't like how it's affecting my books, right? Because, I don't need, like I don't need people to criticize my fantasy novels for not having diversity or not having marginalized characters. And the fact that people think that diversity is being like shoved down their throats. It's like normal people would say, "Oh, something different. Let's check it out." Right? I don't know.
So we're going to move on to more train wreck. So Forbes published an opinion article written by Panos Mordokoutas. I don't know if I mispronounced Mordokoutas.
Is like I think it's Greek, but I'm not sure. But the headline was Amazon should replace local libraries to save taxpayers money. I heard about this.
Yes.
This has been going around. Yeah.
Yikes. And of course, it quickly got backlash from American librarians and the communities that use libraries, and the article was promptly deleted. But we're still going to talk about it because I feel like it merits a discussion.
I mean, full disclosure, I haven't been to a library in years.
You
so
should
I'm
go.
terrible. I'm the worst.
Yeah, so his claim was that, quote, libraries don't have the same value they used to. And he claimed that Amazon Books, streaming services, and Wi-Fi provided by Starbucks have made libraries less vital. And I'm going to argue against that because not everyone has the same access to digital resources.
Yeah, not everyone can have even internet.
Yeah, not a lot of people. Not a lot of people, but there are communities out there that are low income and they can't afford having more than one computer. They don't have good Wi-Fi and
you still have to pay for all that stuff. Libraries are essentially free for the user.
Yeah, well, there's taxes, and that's like his argument, being cutting libraries will save taxpayers money, which I will go back to and refute. But libraries serve the entire public, and it's very important for non-English speaking immigrants and also low-income families, and also children who are learning how to read, and older people who, they don't have any family, so they find a community like a book club at a library. And you can't get that from Amazon. You can't get that from Netflix, which is another thing. Not everybody has streaming, so some people do have to go rent DVDs, Blu-rays, and it's coming from such an entitled space.
Yeah, this is it's this guy's coming at it from a very privileged point. If everyone had access to the same resources, or at least the same base resources, then maybe you have a point there. But the fact is, they don't.
Yeah, and I have I go to the library pretty often, and I'm always seeing people who are who are students, who are studying for their exams. I see people who are applying to jobs. They're filling out their resumes, and a lot of librarians, they actually help them use computers, which is great because, in this day and age, if you don't know how to use a computer, you're falling behind, and libraries kind of bridge that gap, and pretty much saying you can just go to Starbucks and use their Wi-Fi and get access to everything. You don't have to pay for a cup of coffee to go to a library and use their services. And it's okay. And moving on to his second point, he claimed, quote, technology has turned physical books into collector's items. Some people have started using their loyalty card at Starbucks more than they use their library card. This man drinks a lot of Starbucks, apparently, because there are other coffee shops. But aside from that,
I don't have some taste, man.
He is completely wrong about how physical books are ancient relics now, because print sales have actually gone up by more than 10% since 2013. Print books aren't going anywhere.
I prefer having a physical book over reading on my Kindle.
It's really a preference, but yeah, the publishing industry, they aren't there isn't a severe decline of print books, which is good. One of his other claims was cutting down public libraries save taxpayers money, and that is also not true. Shock, shock. According to the American Library Association, there is a $4 to $5 return on investment per tax dollar spent at libraries. And according to a researcher at Tax Policy Center, if all funding for public libraries across the country were cut and divided among Americans, each person would get about $36 back, which is not a lot. Libraries, they even well-funded ones, they squeeze every penny. They have to be very strict with their budget. They make programs out of nothing.
This comes down to just yes, on paper, if all else being held equal, not running libraries will save money because you're not running a program. But at the same time, you think about like all the books that people don't have to buy by going to a library, all the internet they don't have to pay for by going to a library because they can't afford it. And it's like the users are saving money by having a public space that provides these services.
Yeah, and also like libraries, like because it's government funded, like they keep track of circulations of books that get borrowed out, and that money goes to authors. And that's another point that we're going to bring up later with our next piece of news. But
I mean, just think about it as you're paying $36 for a annual subscription to your local library, and if you don't get your library card and participant library, it's just a lazy tax.
Yeah,
for you.
it's a lazy tax for you, which isn't even that much. And also, like, by saying, oh, we should cut libraries, is saying I don't want poor people to read. I don't want working class people to be able to
Which
find
may
jobs.
be the point, because this guy drinks a lot of Starbucks and obviously lives in the gentrified area. So, you know.
It's just like, it's so, like, I was so mad when I saw the headline for this, because like growing up, like when I immigrated here when I was 3, my family wasn't well off. We weren't middle class, and
there also was no internet.
there was also no internet, and like I didn't have a lot of toys because toys cost money, and my parents would take me to the library, and that is how I learned English. That is how I learned how to read, and that is how I became the person that I am today. I'm doing a book club podcast, of all things.
I went to the library to research stuff that I couldn't Google because Google didn't exist yet.
Oh my God. I remember like when like you had to go through the card catalog to like
not
find
even that. Like, where are your encyclopedias? I need to look shit up.
Yeah.
I need to look up.
Yeah, so like I feel like going to like even if you're not going to borrow books at the library, like they have so many events. They have author events. They have like summer reading programs. They have like I remember one time there was like movie night, and I went
and some kick-ass architecture, and also like now that I think about it, I can still smell the smell of old books.
It's nice. I like it. But a lot of libraries aren't well funded, depending on what neighborhood you live in. And we're gonna move on to our next piece of news, which is about piracy. Adam Silvera, author of What If It's Us, he tweeted out a tweet that condemned piracy. And
piracy in terms of stealing books.
Yeah, piracy as in like you are electronically stealing books. You are finding illegally uploaded PDFs and you're reading it, and no money goes to the publisher or the author.
Right.
And that sparked a lot of debate on book Twitter. And I understand that this is a very nuanced topic, but overall, bottom line, piracy is bad. Piracy is a crime, and you shouldn't do it. But I understand that there is a couple of layers to this conversation. So the number one argument that people made about piracy who were for it, they said, I can't afford to buy every book that I read or I want to read. And you know what? Like, I understand that because I can't buy every book that I want to read. And, you know, I'm running this podcast. And
we just talked about a solution. It's called the library.
Yes. And I understand that depending on where you live, like libraries might not be well funded. You might not get the books that come out that year. And there's a lot of struggle to get the books that you want because there are like wait lists and whatnot. But that doesn't mean that you should steal. Like you should wait for it. You should wait for the book to either go on sale or wait until it's your turn at the library, or find a friend to buy it and borrow it from them. Like just because you can't afford a book, you shouldn't steal it. That doesn't, like, it's just not a good justification for stealing. Like, I think there is a difference between like another thing is like a lot of people who pirate books, they say, well, if I read the book, I can just write a review, and that is like promoting the author that's advocating for their book. So I can just steal it and just end up writing a review, which is like, it's good to give reviews to authors, but at the same time, publishers care more about sales at the end of the day.
I mean, if you're a reviewer, there are ways to get the book ahead of time.
Yes, that is true. That's another point. You can get advanced copies through NetGalley. You can get advanced copies by reaching out to the publisher. And the thing is, advanced readers' copies, they are not cheap. They are not cheap to make. And a lot of time publishers have a list, and they are sending out ARCs in good faith. They're sending out ARCs to their target audiences, so they might spread the word. They're sending it to publications that will review it. They're sending it out to other authors who will write a blurb for it. So it's free for a purpose. You asking for a review copy just so you want to read it is not a good enough justification, in my opinion, to pirate a book. And another reason why people pirate, or so they say, is because they are going against the man. They hate capitalism, and they're like, oh, I want to support the author, but I don't want to support their publishing house. And the thing is, it takes a lot of people to make books happen. Like, sure, the author is in charge of writing the story, but that story was edited by people. That story was proofread and corrected and fact-checked. And then the cover that you like, that was designed by an illustrator. And like, you're reading a physical copy, someone binded that book.
Yeah, sensitivity readers aren't free.
It's not free. And you saying like, oh, I'm not gonna buy this book because it's going against capitalism. It's going against like incorporation. And I'm like, okay, there is like, sorry, I'm going on a rant, but it is a topic that is like very like sensitive to me. There is a difference between like promoting the need to have more affordable access to things, and there's a difference in demanding to have access to any book at any time you want. Like, you need to understand the difference. Like, if you want to go against capitalism and want to make sure that people have enough money, enough access to get the books that they want, like, stealing a book does not contribute to that fight at all.
Yeah, I mean, fighting capitalism by taking on the publishing industry is kind of like missing what's the saying? Missing the forest for the trees?
Yeah.
Because capitalism is it's bigger than just the publishing industry. It is like everything you buy. Like the fact that you rent a home, the fact that you pay for Netflix, the fact that you pay for internet, is all part of capitalism. And
like another thing is like, you know, people from other countries, they say like, well, this book is not available in my country, and the only way I can read it is through piracy. And it's like, okay, like the right thing to do is to wait for the book to come to your country, because the reason why that book isn't in your country is probably due to like rights regulation.
Yeah, it's
like,
because of your country, really.
Yeah, it's really because of your country. And of course, like, you know, book shipping costs, like it can be astronomical, and depending on where you live, books can be like double the price as from like the cost here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like just because you want it doesn't mean you should steal it. Like, the right thing to do would be like, I keep saying like the right thing to do, and I understand it's like really hard to do, but like authors aren't rich. Like, authors don't get paid a lot. And even if they get like a really big book deal, let's say they get like $60K, like they're not getting $60K like right when they get the book deal. They get maybe a quarter of it when they sign, and then like a couple of months later, after the first draft is done, they get another cut of it. And then the problem is, like, a lot of book deals you get in advance. So that's like how much money the publishing house thinks the book will make. So you will not get royalties until you meet that advance.
Right.
So there's that. And also, any money that you make as an author, there will be a percentage that is given to your agent. And like, that's why you shouldn't, that's why if like literary agents are like, hey, pay me money to like represent you, that like, don't do that. Like they get a percentage anyway. It's a scam. Authors don't make enough for it to be like a full-time job usually. Like a lot of authors that we have read for book club, they have a second job or they have a different career. And for them to actually be a full-time writer, they need to have multiple books, multiple series. But if people pirate their books and it doesn't show up in sales, right? So it doesn't go towards their advance. It doesn't go towards it doesn't go to them. So therefore, when they have a negotiation meeting for like their sequel or a different book, they're not going to get a higher advance. They might not even get a book deal like for their sequel. They might have to find a different home. And if their book is getting pirated enough that it's affecting their livelihoods to a point where they have to find a second or third job, they won't have time to write their books, and therefore you won't get the next book that you desperately want to read from that author. So for me, like it's a very complicated subject, and there's a lot of like nuance to it, but there's like no neat solution to it, obviously, except maybe let's pay our artists, our creatives, a living wage. Let's try not to justify stealing creative work, because honestly, like any other industry, any other field, if you steal shit, like it's kind of a big deal. You can go to fucking jail, and it's just like people justify like, oh, if you steal a movie, it's not hurting anybody. It's like the studio makes enough money, and it's just like, yeah, but what about the people who made that movie? That's they're different from the studio, and it's not like you can like fucking steal a Nike sneakers from a store and like be like, I wanted it, so it's mine now. Like people would say you're crazy. So why is it okay to do that to books? Why is that okay to do that to movies or anything creative? It's sad that people kind of cheapen creative product that can take over like multiple years. So it's, I don't know, like don't pirate. like that's like my final point. Just like
this has been your public service announcement from Reera.
I'm sorry. It is something that is like,
I mean,
the
simple reason is people do it because they don't see. It's easy to diminish the value of an artistic work because you're just seeing the output, right? You're not seeing the hours that people put in. You're not seeing all the cumulative hours. It's like a plate of food, right? Like,
yeah,
it's in front of you. Like you have your steak, your vegetables, your whatever. But that's the end product of like a week's worth of work, from the farm to transportation to the butchering to the cooking to your plate.
Yeah,
right. And I mean, pirating I think it's easy to justify because it's so easy.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, this is coming from, like, I've been working the last, like, 6 years supporting independent artists. So, like, whenever I get a chance to, you know, like, when I want to use someone's song, like, I could very well ask them for the file, but I just go to Amazon and just pay the 99 cents for the song, just to throw a little bit their way. Like, I'm an adult. I have money.
Which is why, like, earlier, the whole, like, oh, there's no point in libraries. It's just like, no. Like, if you want a book and you can't afford it, go to a library. And also, like, libraries are very much digital now. You can borrow ebooks through Libby and Overdrive. We are not sponsored by Libby and Overdrive. I just use their services a lot.
There's like, I mean, it's everyone pirates at some point. I feel like it's just easy. You might not know what's wrong, but you have to pay it back somehow. And like, saying that, oh, I read a review that's paying it back is like, it's not enough. Buy, like, if you've pirated something from an author, go to their store and buy some merch or buy
even no, I have an issue with that too, because in the end that is not going towards their book sales, and that does not contribute to whether or not that author is going to get another book deal or another advance or royalties even. So like I do have like a complicated relationship with that. Same thing with like with people saying like, oh, I'm going to donate to the author's Ko-fi because I can't afford their $20 book, but I can afford to give $3 to them. And I'm like,
well, I wouldn't say give $3. I mean, if you're going to take $20 of value, you should give back $20.
Yeah, it's just, like it's very, very complicated. People have a lot of different feelings on it. And I feel like a lot of the conversation about piracy has been very Western focused. And I really honestly don't know how other people feel who are from overseas and who, I
mean, overseas, everything's bootleg. So you can't, because it comes down to laws, to your country's laws. Like, if your country can't protect, like, if American copyright and intellectual property laws don't apply, it's free reign. Like, everything you buy in, like, another country could very well be a fake or, like, an illegal copy. I mean, that doesn't make it right, but it's when it's hard to police, it becomes hard to enforce.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, don't pirate if you can. Try not to pirate. Also, another thing is like people saying like piracy is the fault of poor people. Like people pirate because they can't afford it, which I think is bullshit, because I've met a lot of people who, they have money to buy books. They're like, oh, I'm going to use this money for something else. And like,
I mean, when it comes down to it, you're justifying stealing no matter what you're saying to justify it. Like,
yes.
You're justifying stealing. And that's just the bottom line.
And like, I'm going to close on this. Like, the final argument that a lot of people use is like, oh, I pirate because the ebook is too expensive. And that is fucking bullshit, because how many times on this podcast have I said, oh, I bought this book because it costs less than coffee? Like, there are so many books that go on sale for like a month at a time, and like you pay like $2 for it. So I don't think that is a good excuse either. I mean, because they're all excuses in the end.
Yeah, in the end, it's I guess that's the official stance of Books and Boba is don't steal, man.
Don't steal, man. So like the last piece of news that I do want to, it's not really news, but I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to The Lev. The Lev is a pop-up bookstore that promotes books by women and people of color. And like they've held author events. There was like a brick and mortar store in Venice, but now they are crowdfunding to have like more pop-up stores in different locations. So the crowdfunding campaign is on I Fund Women, and you can learn more about it on thelev.co/crowdfund. And yeah, like have more, like it's good to have more resources where you can find books by marginalized authors, and it's good to have more options than the library and Amazon. Wait. I do want to bring... Sorry, I keep saying like, oh, it's my final point. But if we got rid of libraries and Amazon just took over and it was for free, it's by a private company, right? Mm-hmm. So that means that they control like pretty much what gets put on Amazon. That means that they can get rid of any books that they don't like. And that means that they can like police whatever books they find inappropriate or like not good. And we've learned in this country that
putting a lot of faith in Jeff Bezos is just what we're saying.
Yeah. Also, like Amazon had like I think it's still ongoing. Like they have a Kindle Unlimited program, and for a while I was on that program, and there were never really like books that I wanted to read from that selection. So they didn't really have a lot of...
It's all like old dead white people, right?
It's a lot of like really poorly written self-published books, and there are definitely books that are self-published that are good.
The Twilight series started as a poorly written self-published book, or not Twilight.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey started as a poorly written self-published book.
Yeah, but then it got picked up by a publisher, and she made a lot of money. So, but that doesn't change the fact that it was poorly written.
I just want to throw shade at 50 Shades.
I'm throwing shade. I know there's people who like it, but oh god, no. There's so many better books in the erotica genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that said,
let's go through some feedback from our members. We've had some activity on the Books and Boba forums recently. Thanks to everyone who's been participating. Again, we have a Goodreads group. If you want to join, just join and participate in discussions. Nicholas posted on our book banter category. Hey everyone, my name is Nick. I use he, him pronouns. Nice to meet you all. I and my significant others are new middle school teachers in San Francisco, teaching a large community of Asian Pacific Islander students. As both Chinese and Pacific Islander, I would love to be able to promote more exposure to my students and fellow teachers to texts written by contemporary API authors. Any recommendations? Not Your Sidekick and Heron Complex have been amazing to discover through Books and Boba. American Born Chinese is a personal favorite. Any others?
So this is just Asian American or Chinese or
API. I mean,
API.
Yeah.
So Front Desk by Kelly Yang.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I've been hearing so many amazing things about it. The house that Lou built. I forgot the author's name, but she is on our 20 books. 20 was it 20 books? I don't remember how many books were on my summer reading recommendations, but that's on booksandboba.com. Another one at the top of my head, Spirit Hunters by L&O. It's like great for October because it's kind of like related to ghosts.
Yeah.
And if you are a fan of Jumanji, there's The Gauntlet by Karuna Riazi. So there's a lot of great middle grade novels out there.
And there's a lot coming out. If you remember, like half an hour ago when we talked about the new publishing news, a couple of other books on my list that I've been meaning to read as well is Peace Sprout Chen.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, by Henry Lien. And The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo by F.C. Yi. Those are two. Obviously, I go with the martial arts fantasy picks, but if you want to inject some action into your reading list, those are some good recs as well. And yeah, one more quick thing. I wanted to issue a personal apology to book club member Jazz for misgendering them in our last discussion episode on Not Your Sidekick. They graciously pointed out in the Goodreads forum, and
thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, me being a total the worst, did not notice that they had mentioned that in the introduction thread when they first introduced themselves to the book club. So sorry, Jazz, I will do better in the future. But on that note, that'll do it for this episode of Books and Boba.
Yeah, it was a doozy. It was a lot. There was a lot of anger.
I learned a lot about Reera's thoughts on libraries and piracy.
Listen, y'all, this podcast would not be possible without libraries. Do you know how many books, like, for our book club, like, most of them, I have borrowed them from the library because I could not afford it.
Yeah.
I could not afford it.
So if you have any thoughts about our discussions, please sign off in our forums in our Goodreads group. If you have any other things you want to ask, things you want to poll the club about, feel free to post about it, and we may, like today, discuss it on the podcast. A quick reminder that we do have a website now, www.booksandboba.com, and Reera has been hard at work putting together some pretty awesome listicles on it. So if you want to check out what we recommend for your summer reading list, come to booksandboba.com. And on that note, I guess that'll do it. Watch out for a bonus episode of Books and Boba later this week. I'll be reposting my interview with CB Lee, R. Kwong, and Sarah Kuhn from Comic-Con to the Books and Boba feed. Let's say probably sometime this weekend.
Oh, okay, that sounds cool. Yeah. And also we should have some author interviews lined up. So
yeah,
look forward to those.
And yeah, next week will be our book club discussion episode for A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Oseki. Hopefully, if you have any thoughts on the book, please post on to our forums, and it'll help us out with our discussion as well.
And we'll also give you shout outs. And I know that there's some excitement on this book because people have been saying, like, I wanted to read this for a very long time, but it's been like collecting dust on my bookshelf.
I've been getting people saying how much they love the book when they see me reading it out in public. So
cool.
It's pretty good. Yeah. And also, we are recording at the Potluck Podcast Studios, located within the Visual Communications Office in Little Tokyo, Los Angeles. VC is a nonprofit media org supporting Asian American, Pacific Islander creatives and filmmakers, and they're the ones in charge of the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival, among other programs. You can learn more about them at vconline.org. On that note, thanks for listening to Books and Boba. We'll see you later.
And keep reading.
Bye.